Comfort Solutions make the winning call. Blackbeard Marine, #1 Yamaha dealer in the heartland. Riverwind Casino, still the one. River Spirit Casino Resort, your staycation destination. If you want to go all in, you want to be at Choctaw Casino and Resort in Durant.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Barry Switzer, Legacy of Oklahoma Football. Our guest this evening is the one and only Billy Sims. Welcome, Billy.
Hey, glad to be here. Thank you.
This guy was quite a legend, Coach. He's got a lot of Texas high school football records that still stand. And so tell me about beginning the recruiting process of going to get Billy.
Well, the first time I ever saw Billy was on film. We had an assistant coach who recruited East Texas named Bill Shimmick. He comes into my office and says, Coach, I want you to look at a film. I've got a junior in my area, and they're playing in the state championship, playing Rockwall, I think. And I said, he had the film. It's a semi-playoff game. And I went down to the office to look at the running backs and went down there and looked at the film. And when I got through looking at the film, it was not much blocking, but a whole lot of running. He had about 340 yards, rushing, reversing the field. They couldn't catch him, and I was pretty impressed. This is a junior. I asked Bill Shimmick. He said, yeah, he's a junior, and he's going to be a highly recruited player in Texas next year, if not the #1 player. I said, you got his high school coach's phone where, out to the gym and all that? And he said, yes. I immediately left my office. After watching that film, I walked down back to my office, and I called his high school football coach, Jack Roper?
Coleman.
Jack Coleman.
Jack Coleman.
Jack Coleman. He answers the phone. And I said, Jack, this is Coach Switzer, University of Oklahoma. I said, we're going to be recruiting your star player, Billy Sims. He's as good as anyone we've looked at on film that I've seen. I think that he'll be our #1 recruit. And I want to let you know that I'll have a coach there visiting and recruiting with him and following most of your games, which would be Bill Shimmick. Well, I said, is there any way I can get in touch with Billy Sims? And he said, yeah, there is. He's standing right here in front of me. So Billy was in the high school coach's office at that time that I made the call. And he puts Billy Sims on the phone, and Billy and I talked then, and I tell Billy, you expect me to spend some time hearing from me, big boy, because I'll tell you what I saw. You play at Oklahoma, and you'll be a great player. So that was the first contact I'd ever made, and spoke with Billy that day. I saw him on film, and I called a little gym in East Texas, Hooks. And guys, I don't know if anybody's been to Hooks, Texas before, but you got to have a reason to go to Hooks. You just don't go to Hooks, Texas. So anyway, Bill Shimmick spent 73 days there. He's long enough there to be able to vote.
I got tired of looking at him.
But anyway, that was a recruitment of Billy Sims, but it went on all year long.
And there's some great individual stories in there we're going to get to. But Billy, what was your thoughts about the University of Oklahoma? You were being recruited by everybody. You moved from Missouri to Hooks, Texas.
Originally, I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. Big baseball fan.
Go Cardinals.
Go Cardinals. At that time period, Bob Gibson, Lando Cepeda, Kirk Flood. I wore his number 20 because of Kirk Flood.
Wow.
Lou Brock. And at that time period, most black kids, we played baseball. We didn't play football. We thought that was a crazy game. Who want to get hit and knocked around and do all this stuff? Well, when I relocated to East Texas to live with my grandparents, everybody played football. And I didn't really start playing about the 10th grade, really. And I came out, and my first position wasn't running back. It was linebacker, because I wanted to hit the guy who had the ball, too. And one thing led to another. My first game, the two guys in front of me gets hurt. And I'm thinking, oh, no, because we was terrible. No blocking, nothing. And of course, we got better as time went on. And I was still thinking about baseball, because I was a left-handed pitcher. I wanted to throw the curve and the slider and all that stuff. Plus, I didn't want to get knocked around. So out of fear, pure fear, I became a running back because I was scared of guys trying to hit and tackle me. So that's kind of how things went.
That was the improvisational style that made you so famous.
Yeah.
When it came down to making your decision, what other schools were there, and was it tough to say no to someone?
Well, yeah, at that time period, I think, Coach, you could visit a lot of different schools.
Right.
And I picked 5 because I worked on Saturday, and I knew if I wasn't at work, I wasn't going to get paid. So, of course, Texas recruited me, Arkansas, TCU. First time I ever met Bob Lilly.
TCU.
TCU. And Baylor. And actually, I had orally committed to Baylor. And Oklahoma was the last school, and I wasn't even coming up here. But my baseball coach, Durwood Merle, at
Major
that
League
time,
Baseball umpire.
became Major League Baseball umpire. He was a big Sooner fan. I said, okay, coach, I'll go up here, but I'm not going to Oklahoma. I'm going to Baylor. Because my grandmother fell in love with Coach Taft. They're Baptists, we're Baptists. I said, okay, I'm going because she liked Coach Taft. Of course, I came up here, and OU had just won the national championship in '74. And I was telling Coach Switzer I had made a choice. I'm going to go to Baylor. But he said, okay. He said, before you go home, I want you to meet my family. He's turning up the Sooner magic on me, but I don't know as a kid. So I go to the house, and his kids run out there. They all got on number 20.
How about this high?
Little kids. And I'm thinking, wow. He said, oh, yeah, they already selling your jersey number
They
up
had
there.
Sims on the back.
And Sims on the back. I didn't have that on the back in high school. I'm thinking, man, oh, wow. So, well, I told Coach I had a good time, so I went back to Hooks. Well, on the weekend, I'm pumping gas. And they're getting ready to play the University of Colorado. Now, I can get the game because where Hooks, Texas is, we're not that far from Idabel and Broken Bow. Right outside
Got
of
an
Texas.
affiliate there.
Yeah. So I'm listening to the game. All of a sudden, the payphone rang. Y'all remember the payphone, don't you? Right? Okay. One of my coworkers said, hey, Billy, Coach Switzer want to talk to you. I'm thinking, what coach in their right mind want to talk to a high school kid at halftime? That don't happen. Well, I go inside, true enough, on the payphone, it's Coach Switzer at halftime. I said, well, Coach, I know you're in Colorado. I just heard him call your name. He said, yeah, we up pretty good, and I was thinking about you, so I decided to call you. I'm thinking, wow, thinking about me at halftime of a game. So he's still turning up that Sooner magic on me, but I don't know this. He said, I can hear the referee come in. He said, Coach, you got to get back on the field. They're getting ready to kick off. He said, you hear that number 20? I said, yes, sir. He said, if you recommit and come to this great University of Oklahoma, I'm going to promise you 2 things. I'm thinking, okay. What's that, Coach? He said, first of all, I'm going to make sure you get your degree, which I did, because I know your grandmother would love it. He pulled a grandmother card on me. And 2, you're going to win the Heisman Trophy. Case closed.
And you couldn't win it at Baylor.
No, I couldn't win Baylor. That's right.
Here's really all that's what he's telling you.
I know.
What happened.
Wait a minute,
What
let me
happens?
finish my part, Coach.
All right.
As freshmen, when we come in, we like to brag about how we got recruited this way and that way. Come to find out, he told all the freshmen the same story. You're going to win a Heisman. You're going to win a Heisman.
I had 8 Heisman Trophy winners.
He was Oprah before Oprah. But he always said 1 out of 5 wasn't bad. So that's how he ended up coming to Oklahoma.
Mark, here's what happened.
Yeah.
We went to Colorado. We're playing at Boulder that day. We're undefeated. This is 1974. This year we go undefeated and win the national championship. And I got another little running back named Joe Washington. Pretty good. And at halftime, Joe had 198 yards. We got Colorado 28-0. So everything's going pretty good. So I walk into the locker room. The offense is sitting over here and the defense is over here. We're in the visiting locker room. And I said, good job, offense. Good job, defense. Keep it up. Y'all like what I'm saying? I went over and asked my hunting and fishing coach, Bobby Bell, for a nickel. That's what you could get on the phone when you call on a nickel. And they had a payphone in their locker room. So I dropped the nickel in a payphone, and this is when you could call an operator and get an operator and say, charge it to this number, my office in Norman, Oklahoma. And I was able to do that. So I charged it to the University of Oklahoma office on campus. And they rang CJ Conoco service station in Hooks, Texas, where Billy works on Saturdays. Sure enough, the phone rings and CJ answers it, and I say, CJ, I want to talk to Becky. Billy. He said, Coach, you're in a game in Colorado. I know it, but I ain't got much time. Get Billy on the damn phone. So CJ yelled, Billy, get on the phone here. Coach is calling. So Billy, I hear Billy, well, he's in Colorado. No, he's not. He's on the phone. So Billy comes to the phone, so we have our conversation. And I talk the entire time, 20 minutes. In the half, he's right. The official comes up and taps me on the shoulder, and he says, Coach, you got to get your team back out in the field. We kick it off in 5 minutes. And so I turned around. And I said, Billy, I said, you heard that. He said, I got to finish this ass kicking. I'll call you later tonight when I get home from Colorado. So sure enough, I called him later on that night after we got home from Colorado.
I was going to mention one more time Durwood Merrill, who's a great Sooner ambassador and really loved OU as he left Hooks and then went on to Major League Baseball. Were you aware that he was kind of helping steer?
Durwood. I talked to Durwood, come up here on his own a lot of times, and he had told me about Billy before I knew Billy. He said there's a back in Hooks, Texas, who's a great player. I didn't pay much attention to it. I'd never heard of Hooks, and damn sure hadn't heard of Billy Sims. but when Billy Sims, when I checked the record book after watching him as a junior, Billy Sims was the leading rusher in Texas at that time, and there's only one other back in the state of Texas that ever rushed for more yards when he completed high school, and that was Kenny Hall from Sugar Land, Texas, who played for Coach Bryant at A&M. He had 10,000 yards, and Billy had 9,000 yards. Then a year later, we signed David Overstreet that had 8,000 yards. So we had the top 2 and 3 rushers in the state of Texas.
That's amazing numbers, and they still stand today. Billy still is up there today. I was watching the YouTube video of the 77 Ohio State game. That's Billy's sophomore year. You battled some injuries in that game, but you really stood out early in that contest. Thomas Lott also got injured in that game, which ended up being
22-0 until we lost Thomas and Billy.
Second quarter. Probably the most physical game I ever played in.
That was an iconic game, but it might not have been an iconic game if not for the injuries.
No, we're going to hang a half on it. Uwe von Schaman always said, he says, Coach, that's probably one of the biggest plays of your life. Me kicking that field goal against Ohio State. And I'd always say back to Uwe, I said, Uwe, if Billy Sims doesn't get hurt, sprain his ankle, Thomas Lott doesn't re-injure his hamstring, pull a hamstring, and they both never play after the second quarter when we're leading 22-0. We're fixing to hang a half 100 on them, and you wouldn't have needed your damn field goal. But I'm glad you were on the plane.
77 season, battling a little bit of injuries, and again, we're talking about just the fact of how much talent is not only in the running back room at Oklahoma at the time, but on the entire roster.
Yeah, for every position, everybody was fighting for time to get in. And it was always difficult to do that with so many players back in those days.
How'd you keep these guys happy?
The backfield is, you'll see a picture of that Ohio State game. You had Overstreet, you had Elvis Peacock, and you had Kenny King and Billy Sims. All four drafted in the first round. We couldn't put Overstreet in the picture because he wasn't on the starting lineup. But he's played in the game, and he actually took the ball to the 1 or 2 yard line. It was called back. We're fixing to go up 28-0 in the second quarter on a long run he made. Yeah. But the starting lineup had 3 first rounders with the backup first rounder. So that's the type of talent we had at Oklahoma.
Billy, who did you think was the best running back of that group? Do you have a preference? Not including yourself. You have to take yourself out of that.
I always thought Joe Washington was. Mm-hmm. He was more like.
Well, he wasn't on that team.
Well, no, but he was on the 75 team, Coach.
Okay.
That's all.
But
he's still my favorite player.
All right, tell me about some of the runs that stand out in your mind. We talked about an injury where you got hurt in the Vanderbilt game where you kind of set the stage for Spencer Tillman to do it about 15 years later.
Oh, diving over the top.
That's right. But what are some of your favorite runs?
Oh, wow, it was a lot of them. You know, I was just fortunate and blessed to have a great supporting cast. You know, the year I won the Heisman, my roommate won the Outland Trophy, Greg Roberts. So it wasn't all about me. I had a lot of great players. And when you, as in business, in sports, when you got a lot of supporting cast, great supporting cast around you, Coach, you can contest to this, give yourself a chance to win. And what you see what Alabama doing these days, well, we used to do that in the 70s. We didn't rebuild, we just reloaded.
You know what our record was in the 70s? The time I came head coach?
I get
it's
73
and 7.
Wow, that's strong.
73 and 7. Yeah,
that's pretty good. Well, they had coach pick 6 in the Big 8 his first year.
Really?
Yeah, they didn't think they was going to be very good.
My first meeting I walked in, you mentioned that, my first meeting I walked in after they came out with the poll, I hadn't coached a game yet, and they just named me head coach, and they've been trying to get Doug Dickey and Vince Dooley and all these other head coaches around the country to take the job, and thank goodness Jack Santee was a regent, and he played for Bud, and he said, no, we're going to keep Switzer, give him a 9-month contract. I said, please announce it as 4, which they did, and because we won't get it signed any of these recruits, and we're fixing a hell of a recruiting class. And so they lied, like sometimes these regents will, and politicians and all. So they put I had a 4-year contract, but I only had 9. I didn't care how long it was. I knew we were going to win, and they picked a 6th in the league. And our first team meeting, I walked to the team meeting, and I said, hey, is Leroy here? And Leroy said, yeah, I'm here, Coach. Joe Washington, you're here. Rod Schultz, you here. I started naming off all these great players. And they said, hey, well, I'm not worried. I thought, hell, they picked the 6th in the league. I thought y'all Lampton went some other school. And we're going to be okay. We're going to be okay. Of course, we go undefeated.
Right.
Yeah, there weren't many losses in those first 4 years. That's for sure.
Right,
Hey, another picture that's great in Sooner lore, there's the picture of Uva at the Ohio State game, but there's also the picture of you and Bob Stoops when he was a freshman at Iowa in 1979. It's kind of funny how that worked out, isn't it, Billy?
Well, yeah, I remember when he first got the job here, I had that picture, but it wasn't signed at the time. And I said, Coach, you know what? He said, what's that? I said, you missed a tackle on this play. He said, oh, yeah, I was a freshman that year, back in 79. And
he was airmail. He was diving over the top.
He was diving over
Billy
the top.
made a cut. So he was a late ride. Airmail.
Yeah, really.
Bob's a pretty tough player, though. I think
it
worked out for the best, even though
yes,
he missed that tackle.
I'll say this: that Billy had a great career. We all know, 2-time All-American, won the Heisman as a junior, but should have won the Heisman.
Never saw that coming.
Well, I told you you would,
you
and you did.
Yeah.
We surrounded you with a supporting cast that would allow you to win it. I said, we'll have those type of players at Oklahoma to give you a chance to win it. You wouldn't have it anywhere in the Southwest Conference, and not just picking Baylor, but any of them. And you had the opportunity. You came, you played, and you did it. But you not only did it your junior year, you should have done it your senior year, because they award the Heisman Trophy before the season's ever over.
Yeah,
Their ballots are in, and they name it before the season's over. And that's a tragic, because they shouldn't do it. All games should be played, just like it is for the national championship. All games should be played. But they weren't doing that, and they still don't do it. I think it made a difference in 3 games. I think Reggie Bush would never won the Heisman. Vince Young, in the national championship game, his performance that night would have overridden Reggie Bush's performance, and he would have won the national championship because he was the runner-up. Also, I think that Billy Sims, I really believe that Billy Sims would have won the national championship, would have won the Heisman, but his performance against Missouri was 288 yards on national television. We needed every yard of it. We won the game. We came back and we're playing Nebraska here for the Big 8 Conference Championship. They're leading the nation, giving up only 68 yards a game rushing. We got to win this game to go to the Orange Bowl. And I remember on Thursday afternoon, I sat out there and I told Billy, I said, Billy, if you got another one in you. We talked a long time on Thursday afternoon, the kicking game. He and I were sitting by ourselves watching all the special teams out there. I said, and he looked at me and said, I'd save the best for last. I said, I hope you have, because we're going to need it to beat this bunch. They led the nation in defense, and with 1 minute to go in the game, we're down in the ball on the 10-yard line. J.C. Watts is dropping to a knee. We're leading 17-14. They announced Billy Sims has now rushed for 247 yards, most yards ever rushed on Nebraska. And the first time he touched the ball in the game, he went 70 yards for a touchdown. It was called back. He saved the best.
It could have been a lot more.
You can add it up yourself, how many yards.
That's one of the great performances in OU history, is that 247-yard day against Nebraska. What did that game mean to you? It had to be really special to prepare for that big game in Norman.
Well, looking back on that game, due to the fact the year before,
right,
which people to this day bring up the famous fumble on the 3-yard line. And I told Coach that. He said, well, just tell him we had 9 and you only had 1. I said, Coach.
We fumbled 9 times, lost 6 that day at Lincoln in 1978. We're not undefeated, number 1 in the nation. We win that game, we're going to beat anybody in the Orange Bowl, which we did beat Nebraska again.
Right.
That will be national champions. We're the best team in the country.
I said, Coach, they don't remember the other 8 fumbles. They remember mine. That one. But it's just, I look back on my career, great players on both sides of the ball, and that's how you win, be successful. Our defense was great, our offense was just as great, and of course back in those days, we would tackle and hit every day, pretty much. And that's the only way, to me, you play football.
78-79, Billy led the nation in touchdowns scored. As we mentioned, still holds the record here for touchdowns in a season with Steve, 23 each. And then you went out on a pretty good note in the Orange Bowl against Florida State.
Florida State, yeah. I think they had, what's that, Bobby Bowden?
Bobby Bowden.
Yeah, this year. And of course, J.C. Watts, a great.
Stanley Wilson. David Overstreet.
David Overstreet.
It was a pretty good game.
It was a good game. Of course,
Billy had 160 yards, scored the last touchdown, high-stepped it in the end zone.
Right.
J.C. Watts is laying parallel to the line of scrimmage, pitches the ball out to Billy down the sideline.
The funny thing about that play, Because, I had just won the Heisman the year before, and JC would be the quarterback, and he wouldn't want to pitch all the time. He want to. So I would just let him run. I wouldn't stay with him, But on that play, I stayed with him. I said, JC, you owe me one. Because he had somebody to pitch the ball to.
That was a great play.
Oh, yeah.
You went on to the pros, you went to Detroit, and you won those people over. And
First player picked in the draft.
That's exactly
First
right.
player picked in the draft.
Yeah. First round, first pick sound pretty good till they tell you where you was going.
They're not going to a very good team.
No. But we made the playoff a couple of times and improved the team a little bit. We was winning a lot more back then. As a matter of fact, Steve Owens, since he was here, he was their first 1,000-yard rusher for the Detroit Lions. A lot of people don't realize that.
That's right.
That's right.
Billy was not only the first player picked with Detroit, they had not won the first year that before he got there. They're 0-4. Then all of a sudden they're 4-0 with Billy Sims leading.
Oh yeah.
They're leading. He's leading the league in rushing. Ends up being NFL Rookie of the Year. Not only Heisman Trophy winner, first player picked. He's NFL Rookie of the Year, and played 4 years. Was All Pro 3 of those 4 years.
4.5.
4.5, tears up a knee, total knee injury.
I say that because my pitching kicked in.
but I've always said if Billy had not had the injuries like Emmitt Smith, being injury-free, had been able to avoid injuries, that's the key in pro football, staying healthy. If he'd been able to stay healthy, he would have been one of those backs that rushed for 15,000 yards, 15,000 like Emmitt. Like Adrian Peterson, all those guys, because he was that type of back.
But I had a game plan, really, when I came out of college, because Switzer tell everybody I went to Vietnam before I got here. But
He was older than everybody.
I was a little older, for a rookie going into Detroit. And because my birthday is September 18th, by the way, so it fell the day after, before I could go to kindergarten. Then when I went to kindergarten, I flunked kindergarten. That's 2 years. Because my mother didn't think I was ready to go on to the first grade because I played so much. And then when I get here, I get redshirted. So I'm 3 years behind before I get drafted. So I knew from a sticker standpoint, I didn't have long to play this position. So I was trying to do everything I could in a hurry. So just did, blessing from God, got my pension because you had to play 4 years or something like that. Did it change?
5 years.
It's 5 now? Okay, but 4 then.
Right.
Yeah.
Tell me about what being an Oklahoma Sooners meant to you throughout your entire life, your relationship with Coach, who's so great to his players.
Oh, wow. Not just me. I tell, it's funny, I'd be around the country and people say, what do you think about Coach Switzer, this and that? He'll know it. I get him on the phone. I said, talk to him. Oh, no. I said, you really don't know a person unless you've been around him or talked to him. And not just me. If you ask 99 guys, 99 of them will take a bullet for him. I'm one of them. And that's really what stayed with me when he recruited me. He said, after your career is over with, the crowd is gone, the fan is gone.
I'm going to be here with you.
He still got your back.
Yeah.
And to the day, he's been proving that over and over. You'd be surprised behind the scene what he have done for his players throughout the years. Not just me. I'm just one of them, just fortunate to be in his company.
Look into the camera, give me a boomer. Thanks, Billy.
No,
Thanks,
thank
man.
you.
That was great.
Okay,
Appreciate it.
Love you, Coach.
Yeah, I love you too, Billy. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Sam. All right.
Air Comfort Solutions, make the winning call. Blackbeard Marine, #1 Yamaha dealer in the heartland. Riverwind Casino, still the one. River Spirit Casino Resort, your staycation destination. If you want to go all in, you want to be at Choctaw Casino and Resort in Durant.